Okay, we are calling the meeting to order, 6 p.m. Everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the only topic we really have in the board discussion is the NISBA conference, and the point of this is so we can just look at the resolutions and kind of tell Heather, Becker, who's our representative there, how to vote. I think what we'll do is I will read them, and if it's something that we agree with, we will just say yay, yeah. And if it's something that we disagree with, we'll say nay, and we have discussion. We need to have discussion on it. I think a lot of them should go relatively quickly. The first one, resolution 1.
Can I ask you a concern? So this, since I've been on the board, this is the first time that we've had a work session to discuss these in a dedicated session, which I'm super excited about. We're not having this part of the board meeting. But, so Heather is the legislative CHP rep.
We both are.
Right, or you both are. And there's a meeting in October that, with school board members from New York State.
Yes.
That vote on whether or not these resolutions make it to the governor's desk as a priority. Is that how that works, or how does it work?
Not
exactly.
Okay, can you tell me how it works?
It's more than
just for the record, this is the first time ever that I know that we're actually going through the resolutions. This was something that was suggested by Sharon Stogowski, one of our former representatives to the virtual meeting. Sharon, if you're listening, this is kudos to you for finally doing it. And that I wanted to make sure that we recognize that.
I was going to say 2 things. Yeah, I did the meeting last year, and it was long, but I also felt there were a lot of things, and I do remember Sharon also saying that I would kind of vote across based on what I wanted and what I believed, because we didn't discuss it, but I wasn't willing to discuss this in a board meeting, because 31 or 40 on the board meeting could add an hour to a board meeting, so for a work session is clean, concise. And what we're doing is, if we, the ones that, when I say we, that NISBA and Heather, if they support them, that's what NISBA will advocate for in the Capitol.
Yeah, so when the lobbyists will have these as their priorities, and when they talk to legislators, talk to the governor's team, will they be given to the governor? There's usually a pamphlet that's put together, the final culmination, that their lobbyists will use. But it's not like the governor sits down special and says, well, what would you like? Usually it's when there are aides or something that local NISBA.
So we'll walk through all 37 of them and make sure that
Yes.
collectively we have feedback on all, guiding Heather on what to do to vote, potentially agree to something. But do we prioritize 37? The top 3, number 1?
NISBA might do that, but we would not do it for them. They're voting yes or no for NISBA to keep it going forward.
It'll also help Jim when he's at ECSB, and ECSB starts prioritizing priorities for ECSB advocacy. But I still don't see that us making like the top 3 would do anything unless we were going to advocate on our own, which is not something we've traditionally done on too many issues.
Right. Because individual school boards really have created these resolutions and made it to this list of some process. Or multiple school districts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or the first one that we're about to do, the resolution 1 is, it's a sunsetting resolution, meaning that it's been around since 2019. So some of them, they keep coming back up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So resolution one is resolved that the New York State School Board Association support the full restoration of state and local tax SALT deductibility, which in a nutshell means that people can be allowed to deduct their local and school taxes on a federal tax form.
State tax one. This is new to New York State.
Well, it says that
It
it's
says
federal tax.
Oh, federal tax.
Yeah, it's federal.
Sorry, it's federal.
They want New York to advocate for it. You know, so I mean, in my opinion, I think that this is something we want NISBA to do. I mean, do I really think the feds are going to necessarily care? No, but I think that it would make sense. To do, I mean, because it lowers the taxes for our individual taxpayers.
It is also something that ECASB has traditionally advocated for, so.
And are we impacted by this, John? Like, are we considered like a high tax area that would be directly impacted by this?
Yes. So you have houses that pay more than $10,000 in taxes. So if we think of some areas where there's $1 million houses in our district, those individuals would be impacted.
I want to go on record too, my dad texted me today and said, oh, my school tax went up, less than $150. He's like, I don't know what's going on. I go, Dad, if you're listening. Yeah, so he was
I saw something on social media today where somebody posted that they were really thrilled when they opened their bill and saw it was a nominal change, so it only went up to 3%, and they thought that that was really reasonable.
That's the issue. We always say the 6 towns, you have different assessors with different equalization rates, and the changing those equalization rates changes how it's spread. So every year, one township gets a higher rate. I think it's Wales this year. But if you look back, Wales probably had almost nothing last year and almost nothing the year before. So it comes around and then they get it one year, and then another town gets it the next year, and it kind of cycles around. But if you look at like on average over 3 years, it's usually around the 2.5% to 3% that we have.
So, I mean, we kind of agree that we want to have it good.
Yes.
Okay, resolution 2, resolve that New York State School Board Association support legislation action in the regulation of paper products, including consumption, manufacture, and distribution advertisement. This is basically about like, e-cigarettes and the vapes, and the different flavors. And, just my opinion, I think it's something that we would support because, kids are using these, and I think that it calls for like education of parents and kids, and I think that makes sense. Does anyone kind of disagree with that? Okay. Resolution number 3, resolve that, I'll shorten it now, that NISBA take a leadership role in encouraging school boards to develop successful strategies for integrating respects the differences into the educational experience. In carrying out this mission, NISBA shall encourage school boards to ensure the importance of acceptance of those who are unique and different based because of racial, ethnic, gender, sexual orientation, gender identity, disability, status, or religious differences in part. Invite discussion among students, parents, staff, and community about how the hatred and bigotry based on race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, gender identity, disability status, and religion endangers the pluralistic and diversity principles on which this nation stands. Involve students, parents, staff, and community in developing and supporting educational practices which invite understanding and acceptance of others' differences and which aim to eradicate hate and bigotry. That's a mouthful.
Doesn't DEI already cover all of this?
Yes.
So why do we need it?
Yeah, I would say no on this one.
It's not that I necessarily
Disagree with this.
disagree with it, but I think it's already done, and,
Well,
it's addressed there.
I think the key word in this is develop successful strategies. So DEI says you have to do it. Has New York State produced strategies to give the schools to do it, or would you rather that develop our strategies, develop here at Iroquois for Iroquois, we don't get help from the state to do the strategies?
But NISBA already does, they've already taken a leadership role when they give us information. It just makes it.
Yeah, I think it's
I'm just saying that
yeah.
DEI does it doesn't give the strategies.
But I think that's something they can work differently. I would not create a player.
To me, resolutions here are supposed to be about advocating for things legislatively, and this is basically saying the New York State School Board directors want to know if we want them to take a leadership role. I think they already do. That is their job. We don't need to tell them that that's their job in any specific area. I would say no to this. Just because it's not legislative.
It's not.
Just out of curiosity, when at this meeting, do they alter any of the resolutions? Do you have any decisions?
They can.
They can.
So we could no position, this is either support, don't support, or.
She doesn't know that she cannot
Can
vote.
you abstain?
You can abstain.
I would abstain.
You would abstain?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're good with that?
So for the new guy, when we said, is the same extent, just like not putting one way or the other, helping vote it out?
I mean, technically, it's like saying no, but
Saying
it's
it's
saying it's no because there's something about it that needs to change or doesn't make sense to us. And to me, it's not legislative, so I don't know why it's here.
So, but again, I'm trying to,
I'm comfortable with no.
I
Or
would just say
abstain.
no.
I would be comfortable with no or abstain as well, but abstain gives you more of a.
It's softer.
It is, it's softer no.
Still say no.
But it's still a no.
Let's say no.
Say no.
No?
Okay, resolution 4, resolve that New York, NYSBA, work with New York State Educational Conference Board and its supportive members to call on New York State Legislature to improve Tier 6 and current retirement systems for school employees, that we seek support and legislation to establish tier equity for Tier 5 and 6 to be more aligned with Tiers 1 through 4.
So this is your fixed tier 6. ECASB does support this. It is basically sending a message that us as a school board support our teachers and their retirement system, and that we want to see their retirement system fixed.
And the only thing that I would say, because this is bigly EC, your kind of school board associations, is that it would be kind of what Jane said, it would be us advocating for the teachers, not necessarily,
The state.
or
What about that? Because that's the whole.
well, this would just be for the teachers,
Right.
which is fine, but it's obviously, there's a financial impact to doing this. Do you know what I mean? It's not really a board thing, it would be to support the teachers.
And just out of curiosity, we have a lot of teachers in our district that are stuck here, Tier 5 and 6.
All
And what was starting, how many years ago was that starting?
Quite a few.
Probably 8 years ago it started?
So quite a few.
Yeah.
I mean.
I'd say it says 2012, so if you figure we have 5 to 7 teachers a year, I guess I'd say we have.
50% probably in the 5 to 6 year, I guess, 50%.
Yeah, so the only,
Just increase.
I would be completely guessing.
I think the only devil's advocate thing is there's a cost.
Well, there would be, right?
Yes.
Yes.
There's a possibility.
Because in order to fully fund it, they have investments that are invested, but the investments that the stock market's not doing well, that's when you see our TRS rates go up. So there would be some cost in some years, other years would be lower than others, depending on the stock market and how investments are doing.
But at the same time, if we keep doing what we're doing with Tier 5 and Tier 6, we're not going to get anybody that wants to come to education anyway. I think it needs to be fixed, regardless of the fact that it is tied to, you know, these balancing acts.
So you're for it, Heather?
Or,
And for it, they're talking about going back to Tier 4.
Yeah, well, that's where the cost comes in.
Yeah.
Todd? I mean, we get the 3 versus the 4, so I think it's gonna, we're
I was
gonna
gonna say, it's
say
not bad here,
Okay.
Yeah. Easy to just.
Okay. So that one goes forward. Now we're going to do 5. Resolve that NYSBA support legislation that would increase the BOE Center and Career Aidable Salary Cap by connecting aid more closely with the actual cost of providing the services. This is a big one, and I think it's something we should be for, because the reimbursement is off by like $35,000 for these BOCES jobs or positions, and I think that these are going to be more and more important to students looking to train and stuff in the future. I think this is kind of a no-brainer on this one.
This is another one that DCNC has been advocating for years, so.
Sorry,
Do you know why it's not like,
because the state has to put money towards it.
Yeah.
Yes,
I mean, they have something that was, $30 in 1992 and not changed it from what I'm reading. So you
Would
would
say
say,
it's been up, yeah, yes, it's
Okay.
1992.
Yeah.
so it sounds like the foundation needed more.
Yeah, that's, you're about right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so.
And I guess, that's a good way of saying it, because there's stuff in the foundation formula that isn't updated, and this is something that's not updated, put a dollar amount to leave it. And then you're scrambling to get money for foundation aid, so no one ever goes after this, but it's huge.
It's massive.
It's really significant.
So we agree, we support that one. Now we're going to move to number 6. This one's been around for a while. I
We
know,
don't know how long it's been around for.
well, the stars are sunsetting, keep kind of weird dates, and I just remember talking about them. So this one is number 9, and I'm not sure what the impact of this one is. Resolved that NISBA support legislation to eliminate the limit on BOCES district superintendent compensation. I know what that means, but what would that be effective on school board?
That's impossible to tell, because it would be, what does your local BOCES hire that? So if they were to hire the district superintendent in Erie 2 BOCES for $27,000 more than we're currently paid, not exactly, but roughly there's 27 component districts, everyone chips in $1,000 more. You do get aid back on that, so say we're at 50%, it'd be only a $500 impact for us. Not quite right, because there's rating on wealth ratio and everything. But where this came about was there was a BOCES superintendent in one very close area that had a very lucrative compensation package and retirement package. And because of that, the state was really offended that this would happen, and so they put these limits on the BOCES superintendents. What it does, it creates people more towards the end of their career that have a lot of experiences as a local superintendent not wanting to go into a BOCES superintendent, because your salary would actually go down, your benefits would actually go down. So why would you would be getting the most experienced people in the position that is a direct liaison to New York State, bringing information back and helping out local superintendents. So, why would you want to hire to attract the best people, best candidates for the field that wouldn't affect the salary?
Now, can I hear you correct that the school districts contribute toward that salary?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That is still relevant.
Yes, so that would mean we would have to contribute more, and we don't have to contribute part of it because we also get state aid back on that part. New York State, so actually the DS for BOCES, they get their salary from 2 sources. Part of their paycheck comes from New York State, and part of it comes from the BOCES.
Why would the DEI committee propose this?
I wondered that too.
I have no idea.
What does the BOCES district superintendents do for Iroquois?
They are,
Ours is not going to be from York, from
Yeah.
the BOCES. He's the guy that advocates for all of the component districts that make up Erie 2 BOCES with the state education department. And he's sort of like the liaison between the two.
yeah, if I wanted to answer it directly, because it's a person, I would want to go to executive session to give my direct feedback.
But I mean, in general, what they do.
Position is supposed to, something happens, they should have experience in it so that they can help mentor us or help mentor me in how to take care of the situation. And then the other aspect, by the other half of their paycheck, would be bringing back, that and then helping the system set up CTE and shared services programs in the BOCES for our kids to attend. And then the other half would be exactly what Jane said, bringing back information and being a liaison directly to the commissioner.
You're going to learn all about this at the dinner on the 26th, a week from tomorrow, because our 2 BOCES district superintendents, Dr. O'Rourke and Dr. Capilano, who is the Area 1 BOCES superintendent, will be our guest speakers, talking about exactly what they do and what role BOCES plays in a school district for school.
I mean, my initial 2 cents on it is I probably would not want to move forward with it at this point, because it is a cost to us, and if they're people towards the end of their career, I mean, I don't know, it's got a secondary service, and I'm kind of hoping that our superintendent or the district superintendent are kind of, they know what they're doing. You know,
Yeah.
it's kind of a hope, so I mean, I think they're good as a guy, but I don't know if we want to pay. I would hate to see that go. I would hate to see that go, if they said no limit, I would hate to see that go from 208 to 308. Do you know what I mean? Just because it can.
I'm just really curious why the committee would propose it. Do we want to?
Well, they said no position, they didn't oppose it.
No,
It's the same thing.
It's opposed.
And our copy says no.
Oh,
So we're all looking at the same thing.
I'm looking at
I have the
I'm
updated version that was sent to me.
Says no position.
For ECASB. And
Yeah, that's
I,
fine. It says no position.
yeah, I have an updated version. This was.
Oh,
right now.
Or is it?
Oh, you said no, it says opposed.
Mine does say opposed.
I said
It's
no.
Yeah, ours was September 4th was when we received.
I'm just curious, is there a halfway like
Third page.
No.
These are two separate.
They're two separate.
After that, because I got an email saying, hey,
Yeah.
something to change.
So what do we think of this one?
I don't know. What?
I think it kind of limits the people who would take that position. If I put a cap on it, so I mean, I don't know why you.
Because one individual is going to get a very lucrative thing, and this is the way the state trying to control it so no one else could do the same thing. One person took advantage of the OCs and their generosity.
Well,
In the executive session, I can tell you who and where.
I mean, it does probably make it so that we have,
Well, there should be a negotiation, right?
It is a negotiation, so.
Who would this superintendent say, I want to be superintendent of Erie One? Who would I be interviewing and negotiating?
The board, the Area 1 Board of Education. So Dave Lowry right now, who used to be on our board, is still on the Area 2 board, so it's the Area 2 superintendent. He could be a member of it, just like my salary would be negotiated with you. Those people would do it, and I would assume they would be, you know, representing the components, because the people on it all represent districts.
Because my thought is one person abused something, and now we put this whole limitation on it. It just seems silly backwards. I don't know why we wouldn't support this and let it get negotiated properly, because no one's abusing anybody else. You know?
Because we're impacted by.
I just have to do it as cheap as humanly possible. That's the way. Sorry.
it is like,
Yeah, no, I get it, the cost.
save us money somewhere,
Right.
I'd rather see the salary caps raised than,
Yeah.
you know, than just the one salary.
And I know that there's another individual superintendent in ours, and I agree with him that I think all of the caps on BOCES and everything they have should be reviewed and changed, all for the positive. So it's not just the salaries here for career and tech, but it should be the back office people, payroll, all of the salaries, not just one little group, special ed. So like when you see here, the $30,000 for career and tech, well, that would be stuff for the special ed rooms. Now, granted, the salaries there are staff, but there's lots of other costs, like just the maintenance, the people, buildings and grounds. They're capped too, but yet, there should be everybody.
So I guess it's you, Heather, what do you think?
I'd rather see money be used more wider than this.
So you'd be opposed?
Yeah.
Jane?
If there's a point where they do say a change and they say something like an agreement to keep the cap but raise the amount that the cap is, I would be for that. But
Or say
otherwise,
remove the cap altogether.
I'd say close it.
I'm opposed.
Close.
Yeah.
They agree with Jane. They propose the reason.
And no one will trust you to make that decision at the time because they could do 10,000 things. Resolution number 7, that NISBA supports legislation to amend the current civil service system to modernize exam materials and increase the frequency of exam administration. I think this because it's just, we want to get more people going through the system.
Yes.
Okay. Going to number 8, I think this is a cool one. Whether this will happen, I don't know, but it's that NISBA support legislation of the state that will provide for sufficient funding through building aid for the construction of a new schools that would replace ones or more outdated and antiquated schools. I think it's kind of basically asking for more aid from the state. I think there wants to give schools more aid, that's a good thing. Do I think that this would happen? Probably not, but I think that it would be a positive thing. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree. And where are we in the 5-year cycle, just out of curiosity?
The building conditions.
Building conditions.
We have a work session scheduled. Building October 16th.
So every 5 years, we get aid currently. What happens every 5 years? Just
It's really, we had a 5-year schedule, because they had a lot of schools on the 5-year schedule, but then they tried to offset them a little bit, so they weren't all landing the same year. So they moved ours, but basically, the thing is, every 5 years, they want to do a full investigation of your facilities, the building condition survey. They provide funding for that based on a amount per square foot of your building, so essentially it's paid for by the state fully.
Yeah.
And then that's used as the basis, we submit it to your state, so they have it on record too. And we are supposed to use that as a basis for our future capital projects.
So we're good.
So basically, in very simple terms, every 5 years we review the conditions of the survey, the board reviews it. If they feel they want to do a project, they do a project. If they don't want to do anything, they don't do anything. We've been doing a project, approximately.
So we're generally in support of this one, right? The next one, number 9, was brought to you by a bunch of districts and probably John. It's the resolve that New York State School Board Association shall advocate for timely decisions on school aid. I think this is a no-brainer. I don't think it requires a
Yes. No-brainer. Well, that is a new status. No-brainer.
Poor John.
Yeah, I should. Well, it's just that he knows his numbers for the last minute, so whatever he's
Last week, yeah, that's good.
The next one is number 10, resolve that NISBA support hybrid electric buses as an alternative option to the New York State 100% zero emission school bus for ESB, electric school bus fleet mandate by 2035. So it's basically saying that we let the districts have some more choice, that they can do hybrids as well as zero emission.
Are there hybrid buses currently?
I don't know.
Are there hybrid buses
I've never
currently?
heard of a hybrid bus.
Not that for a school.
I mean, what's the point if they don't make a hybrid bus? Why would you make a
They're trying to get
restriction?
you to support the electric bus with zero emissions.
I just say.
They're trying to say zero because there's hydrogen, there's other options down the road, maybe, so they want to keep it open with saying zero emission.
This is where I'll say the way this is done is kind of frustrating, because you see this was submitted by a school board.
Yeah.
Later on, we might see another one, electric bus is submitted by a school board, another one submitted by a school board. I think what NISBA needs to do is take everything around the electric buses and give a stance and have one voice for one thing. Otherwise, hey, I'd like to have hybrid buses, and I'd like not to have electric buses, and I'd like to have the buses the way we have them, and I'm supporting all 3 of these when they all are different.
Here's my thought, and now I'm getting political. NISBA originally supported zero emission buses until they did stuff last year to discover that the vast majority of their member districts don't support it. So they had to backpedal and start working towards how do we do what our members want to do while still supporting what our legislators want to do, because we have to work with our legislators. We've got to try to get our members to a middle ground so that they can get the legislators to a middle ground. And I think that this is an evidence of that. I say we vote no for this. If it has anything to do with electric buses being anything at all, it's a no.
And last, that was the one thing in that long meeting that by far no school district supported this. I mean, electric buses. So this is kind of like, she said, like an olive branch that we need to make.
Yep.
What do you have on yours there? Because I have no position on
I
that.
don't position.
And then there's only one thing, love everything you said, Jane, except for one thing, where you said NISBA was trying to get its members to a middle ground. It should be representing its members, not trying to get us to a middle ground where legislators are here
But
or
I don't
there.
think that's what
and trying to
they're
be
doing,
here.
that's why we.
Yeah, no,
got
I'm just saying,
something.
NISBA should represent you,
Right.
not help boards move to a different
Well,
position.
that's why they were in a very awkward position, because they strongly supported it and they strongly got pushed back.
And we're surprised when they discovered that their members did not support it.
And it wasn't close.
And are the hybrid buses more expensive than they are?
We don't really exist.
I had a quick search and I saw one mention from 2010 of a diesel electric hybrid, and I couldn't find anything else, so apparently they scrapped that really quick.
Yeah, okay.
So we're against it, I think.
It wasn't electric, it's Boston.
It's just more untested technology on school buses. Just start someplace else and leave the schools alone, let us have our buses.
I agree.
Buses are so heavily regulated now anyway, that the emissions coming out of them are not enough. Like, this isn't gonna do what they wanted to do.
So we agree on that. Number 11, we resolve that NISBA, or the governor of New York State, the New York State legislature, and the New York State Education Department prioritize the human resources process and programs that ensure school districts can receive necessary building permits within 6 months of submission of capital improvement plans. I think this is a good one, because sometimes they can drag things forever, for no apparent reason.
Yeah,
To support it?
Yeah.
I would support that too.
That was an easy one.
It means the state has to hire more people in the department, right? What that means.
Or trust the architects to build this stuff and not look room so tight.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go to number 12, resolve that NISBA support funding for technology and related expenses for smartphone regulation policies, whether pursued by district voluntarily or mandated by the state. I mean, I kind of gave my opinion on that at the last meeting, so we're not in there, and I don't want jammers all over the school either. Can't get a single here anyways.
I would oppose this for the same reason you're saying, but also because it kind of sends a message to the state that we're willing to be regulated. And I don't like that.
And like Doug, I think Doug
On
said,
any issue.
I think Doug said it the best last meeting. If there was a problem, he would take steps, or he would recommend steps to us, you know. So it's not, we gotta get away from sometimes one size fits all.
No,
So, moving on to number 13. Resolve that New York State School Board Association support legislation at the state level that will allow school districts whose pre-K programs are oversubscribed to show enrollment preferences to students who are economically disadvantaged and or are English language learners until such time as the program becomes truly universal. This was kind of brought up last year. In my personal opinion, I don't really like it that way, because you're tailoring something for a certain group. You're helping one hurting someone else. I don't think that makes.
It's currently a lottery system, right? That's what
It's a lottery
So
system.
do we have any students that applied that didn't?
We
Do
do
have
not
wait
this
lists?
year. Now, we had 2 classes this year, right?
Do we have a wait list?
We do not have a wait list right now, so if someone moved here, there's a spot for them. Now, that's this year, next year, I don't know.
So are we opposed to that?
So do we only get aid for a certain number of students, classes, or?
We get so much aid, and let's say, I would say $300,000, and each student can only get $5,400 of that aid, and you can have 18 kids in a class. So when you do all the math, we can't spend all our money, and the $5,400, when you times it by 18, doesn't cost the classroom. If I was to do a resolution, I would say schools get aid for universal pre-K, and they use it as they see fit, and there's no dollar amount tailored to so many kids, unless get as many kids in there as we can, or fully fund the program or whatever. Don't put limitations where I have to send money back.
Well, this one I just feel like you're selecting certain groups of people,
Yeah.
and you're there. So
Yeah, this one I don't.
you're going to other ones.
I'd say no. But Mr. Schofield just made a really good point. If I were writing a resolution, there is nothing saying that the Iroquois can't write these resolutions. If we have issues that we see, that we have, like, we don't like something, but we would one and send it in for next year's class. So,
We're getting better at that way, doing this.
yeah, yeah.
And I think it's always relaxed. So that one I think we're opposed, is that, okay. Number 14, this one, it makes sense to me. It says resolve that NISBA shall advocate for direct funding assistance to school districts for any student who enters a BOCES career and technical education CTE program for an affiliated career training program resulting in a postgraduate license or certificate. I think that, that makes sense because, we want kids who want to do trades to be able to do trades. And getting support for it, I think, good.
Yes.
So that's, it's not in the foundation aid formula for the number of students we have?
For career and tech, no, that's where you get your BOCES in, is a different formula.
So it's like,
Are they asking for it to be?
Direct.
Directing for more money.
Yeah.
Oh.
This one.
They're asking for the state to support, basically.
Okay.
Those kind of
oh,
things.
oh,
Okay, and the next one is 15. Resolve that NISBA shall advocate for the New York Swims
As you
initiative.
said up to 14, I find it's very interesting. I mean, I think you should support it. I agree with your decision. But it's interesting because if the state keeps modifying the formula and reducing it, it could come to a point where, yeah, you're funding the formula, but you get less money in the formula than you do with the current state aid. So again, you really have to analyze which school district and how are you getting aid on stuff. So it's just interesting.
Number 15, resolve that New York State School Board Association shall advocate for the New York Swims initiative to be extended and expanded to include additional enhanced and targeted state funding specifically dedicated to construction of pools in K through 12, and for increased aid for operating, maintaining, and staffing associated costs of these facilities. The enhanced funding shall be built into the building aid formula to promote equitable and year-round access to swimming instruction for all students. It's asking for money for pools, is what it is.
I can almost see this one going through too if we start advocating for that, because the governor has a big push
The governor
right
is big,
now for public pools. Because there have been so many drownings in New York State. I mean, should probably, guess.
So it should be, it's from municipality, not school districts, right?
Look at this, your school district, because it's in here.
Yeah, but
I make her initiative in municipalities.
we're always talking about how we need a new pool here.
I know.
But if we get more aid for it, this would be a good one to support. Yeah.
Would that be something that comes under the every 5 year? Who would get money?
We,
No, every 5 years is just going to do the study. We could do a capital project every year and get money. So that's just by law, when we have to tell the state what our issues are.
we're trying to increase the funding for the,
Yes.
would this make it so that the funding for a pool would be greater than the funding for anything else in our school?
that's what I'm assuming, that they're asking for. Sounds like it.
I think that's what it sounds like, and if it is, then I say we support it, because we'd like to, we keep talking about the pool. Like that ends up on our building survey.
And operating maintenance, and ongoing cost operating maintenance and all that stuff is kind of like.
And we looked, and this board looked at just what it would cost to do a pool, and the numbers were massive.
Yeah,
So,
it's,
Yeah, when you under rationale, you read the first sentence, building 8 units, give you a synonym, students. So how much aid you get is based on how many students are in the building. And if you already have a station, then they say, well, why do you need more of a station? You already have a pool. Well, it's not a big enough pool. It's not this, it's not this. So giving more aid towards it would be very helpful to us.
It also says to hold up, student enrollment should not be a factor to determine.
Correct, and that's the key point to this.
Constructing the pool.
Yeah, that's the key point. Student enrollment, building should not be a factor. You need a pool, you need 8 lanes,
because you need the pool.
because you need the pool.
Right.
Because right now, we're limited, a pool is considered a gym space. We have 2 gym spaces in the middle school, so to get 8 on it is very hard, because it's all comes from reconstruction. So it's a huge price take on us. What Heather pointed out there is the important piece, not based on building 8 units, not based on enrollment. You get money because you need a pool.
And I think that makes sense.
So who decides we need who?
That would be,
Art will definitely.
that would be the detail of how the law is written, and that would be, hey, if you start to get people supporting this and the governor supporting it, that's where you start having those conversations of who, what, where, when,
Yeah,
why.
we're just saying,
I think it's a good one to support.
But just to add to that, like our goals originally was built with this school.
Yeah.
And I think that we'll probably get to the point too where our global standards aren't met anymore. So like any
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
favorable.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
This next one, which is 16, resolve that NISBA support legislation at the state level to allow school districts to provide an opt-out to decline transport services. I mean, the DEI is opposed to this one. I mean, when you read it, it kind of makes sense, so I'm not sure if I understand the negative to it.
I didn't understand it well.
Yeah. Because it's saying that if you want to drive your child, you can, and then allow the school to reroute. I don't understand. I'm missing something, I think, in here.
Where's Huntington? Where's that?
Huntington's,
Oh, I get it.
down,
So, right now, how the law is written, on the first day of school, every person by law has to be on a bus route with a bus pickup and a seat on the bus. What this would do would allow families to say, I'm going to drive my kid all year, I'm opting out of your transportation service, so therefore, and we can make a route during the summer that would take that into account and be more effective rather than having empty seats on the bus. Where after the first month, based on ridership, you can reroute all your buses, but then that becomes confusing to people who typically don't do that. So if I know there's 10 people live in this area and eight of them are opting out, I can have that bus also go somewhere else.
It seems to make sense.
It makes sense. To me,
Why do
this-
they oppose it?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
To me, this is one that would make sense because you opt out. You know, it actually does. I can see where people would oppose it because they would say, well, once you make the route and and you max out your bus at 66, and now the kid says, well, I've already opted out, I'd like to get on it, but we have no room on the buses. So I can see, I think you should support it. I can see it ending up that buses can be rerouted through opt-out, but you have to have 10% of the seats open in case someone changes their mind.
And that's the
But
devil
that's
in the detail.
the devil in the details, and that's what I
the
heard.
district can decide that for themselves.
And the district can decide that for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's-
I personally like
Yeah, I
it.
agree.
I don't think John would like it. I don't think Eric would like it.
yeah, let's support that.
Okay, we'll go to
So,
number,
okay. I'm just saying, this is not what the state telling us what we need to do, right?
No, it's not giving us the
It's
option.
giving us, the state tells us.
It's
that
saying
we
you
have
can
to
do
have
opt-out. You don't have to do
transportation.
opt-out.
This is saying we would now do it.
Do it ourselves.
We can do it ourselves, yeah.
Okay.
We're not allowed to do opt-out. Now this will allow us,
If we want to.
if we want to. Yeah, we can stay the way we are. We don't have to change.
moving to 17, a little bit of a mouthful. Resolve that NISBA allocate the state educational department to review and revise the NYSE SLAT exam criteria to ensure a realistic, fair, and accurate annual assessment of each student's English language proficiency and service needs, eliminating double testing, and ensure exam administration causes minimal disruption to the delivery of services to students. It seems like that makes a lot of sense, but why is the question? Because don't we kind of want to do that anyways?
What? Well, because the NICELT test has to be given at certain intervals. This, again, to Heather's point, would give us permission to do it when we want it and how, and we just tested the kids.
It gives us a little
Just
control.
have to give
So
us
we
a
think
little
that's a good
control.
thing.
We always want them to.
Yep.
So,
Because right where it says eliminate double testing, bang, whoop, bang.
yep. Anything that gives us local control is what we want.
Okay.
I was saying.
I agree too, yeah, it seems like it's almost, that was kind of sense. Number 18, resolve that NISBA advocate that the state education department refrain from administrating the NICELT
Tell and NICELT.
exam in the computer-based format until those tests have been properly vetted and field tested to support that the computer-based form is appropriate, beneficial, valid, and reliable. It's not.
I mean, it makes sense that you don't want to do something if it doesn't work, but,
Does it not work? I guess is the question.
yeah.
Whether something works could be a relative term,
I
right?
was
The
gonna say,
person
you just,
doing it.
this district had a problem, so they got a resolution
Yeah.
where it's really not a problem, like,
I honestly, and this, you don't hear me say this often, I think the state really does its best effort to put out computer-based testing in programs that work. Do they, sometimes they have problems? Yes. I wouldn't support this. I got to side on SED on this one, that I think they try to make things work. They fail sometimes, but, with the computer-based testing, they came back and redid it the next year and everything with the 3 through 8. It was a mess the first year. Servers went down and everything, but they tried, fixed it, and came back better, and the year after better, and the year after better.
But shouldn't they test it before?
Well, they do,
Well,
and that's my thing. So we test it. How many times do we have to test it before, okay, it works? I'm good with either way on this one, because
I don't think it's happened yet. I think it's not working great. I think it says 2026, I think it's going to convert to 5.
yeah.
Yeah, so what do we think on this one?
And I think this is because of the problems with the different state testing they have with 3 through 8. People are scared it's going to be a mess. Well, you can do a lot of testing, and then when you go live and everyone jumps on it the same day, and your server speed goes down, you can have a mess anyways with all the testing. And that's why I say, I think New York State does its best in testing ahead of time. Have they been successful? Not always.
I would say I support because that's what it's asking. to
Yeah.
really do.
Okay.
So that it
So I'm good with
before,
that.
whenever they roll it out. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, now we're going to move to the next one, which is number 19. Resolve that NISBA will allocate for any publicly funded study of the foundation aid fund performed by any organization to be required to be performed with transparency and meaningful public engagement. This deals with the Rockefeller Association, the Rockefeller Center, we do with aid formula. I would support this one because I think I kind of want to slow it down. I think we want to understand what's going to happen to us, and I don't think we should rush this through. Okay, so we support that one. And more chocolate for you. Okay. Now we're going to number 20. Resolve that NISBA Association will advocate for additional state and/or federal funding for the education of English language learner students in a manner that meaningfully reflects the increased costs associated with instructional needs for these students and includes regional cost indexes on its analysis of funding. So I think this will make sense, because what it's saying that some of these students, to get them to where they need to be, is going to cost more money, and New York should provide it, help provide it.
Do we have any of these students?
Few.
A few?
Less than.
A few, but like, you're gonna see a lot of them more in urban areas and in first ring suburbs. We're not a first ring suburb, but, whatever, it trickles down, and eventually, we will see this.
To support other districts, I think that we should vote yes on this, and why I say this is I talked to one superintendent, and I thought he explained it very well. You have 2 types of immigrants coming in. One, that tend to be the 4 around the scale, and they go to certain areas, and they tend to, majority live there, and their parents are not well educated, they're not well educated. Not only do they come in with a foreign language, but they come in with very limited education. Then you have the other group that are children of doctors that come over here that are very high educated people, move into affluent areas, work in the hospitals, have high paying jobs, and are well educated and do speak multiple languages. So they're both considered coming from households of, you need to look at what population you're dealing with, but the ones in, the cities tend to be the poor type, and they need more funding. Yeah, I mean, you move in and 5,000, I don't say 5,000 families, but a huge number of families move in and your population in school goes up 10%, and you need 10% more teachers because they're all English language learners
So bottom line
from
is,
multiple languages.
bottom line is, it's a New York State, everyone's running New York State to get an education. So these children need to be educated, and there's going to be more costs associated with them. And the state, it's in their constitution, they're supposed to fund it.
Yep.
Okay. Number 21, I think Doug touched about this one a little bit. Resolve that NISBA shall advocate for the upward modification of the inflexible restricted per pupil expenditure limit for the state universal pre-K program currently set at $5,400 to mirror the same provision allowable for the use of the statewide universal whole day pre-K super dip.
Yes. Yep.
I think that makes sense because what Doug was
Yes.
saying.
Yep.
It just allows them to use the funds more efficiently. Okay, now we're going to go to 22. Resolve that NISBA oppose the proposed amendments to section 135.1, 135.4, 135.5 of the Commission on Educational Regulations related to mixed compensation and extra class athletic activities. Competition.
Mixed competition.
And extra class athletic activities. This was the one that we talked about at the beginning, and I think this one was better when it was left in the hands of the school. Yeah. So we agree on that one?
Yeah. So yes, you would vote yes on this though, because it's opposing it.
Yes.
Yes. And I did hear, just to inform the board, last night I was at a meeting, and I did hear that we're receiving pushback from legislators from this about the mixed competition, so it might be slowing down.
Is this the one that everybody's been talking about over the summer? Title IX?
Yep.
We're doing that one. Now we're on number 23. Resolve that NISBA oppose efforts to establish additional school closure holidays without commensurate adjustment to the school calendar. See, this says oppose this. I don't know, if you keep adding holidays, I think you have to adjust the calendar. So, that's my opinion. If we keep giving kids more time off, which they appreciate, but at some point, they're going to be in school for 10 days a year.
Oh, yeah.
Well, no, that's the kick in the pants. You can't be, you have to go to school for 180 days, and the days that count are the days, the last day would be rainy day, and the first day would be the first day of September. So what it does is it messes with what you can do in there. So like February break, things like that, they keep adding it.
So there have to be some adjustments.
They also, when they do this, they don't take into consideration at all anything about contract negotiations and how it impacts employees and whatnot. So I would say, but this is opposing
We want to oppose this.
without adjustments, but would we support it if there were adjustments? Because that's what we're really, do we oppose
Right.
this, or do we say, yes, we also oppose without,
Yeah, this is.
or are we just opposed to making these continued holidays?
I don't think that you add holidays if they're going to, you have to adjust the calendar, right?
But
You
they have
gotta do something with it. You gotta do something with the calendar, or days of aid, or something. I mean, I personally would say yes.
So we would.
Yes to boards opposing it.
Yes, we would support this.
Yeah, I know the committee recommends oppose, but I think, yay would be the right.
Yeah, because you have to somehow, you have to be pendulum on the other side.
Yeah, you got to take into consideration that.
Just for curiosity's sake, did you say your release should start school before September 1st?
No, I said the earliest you can get aid is September 1st. So if you start school before that, you don't get aid. So that's why you see school districts having staff development days before September 1st, because those days come as nothing, and then the school starts somewhere in September. Yeah. So yeah, you can start earlier, just so you don't get money. It doesn't count towards your 180, which is crazy.
Well, I was just curious, because you see, like, some of the schools start earlier, and it's because of weather. But the nice thing is when they start earlier, when the kids are taking the APs and that, they lose time because, like my friend in South Carolina, their kid gets 3 extra, 4 extra weeks.
Right.
Of that curriculum time, so I always thought that was interesting.
Yeah, it's a state thing that, for that September, so that's why other states start earlier, they don't have the aid.
Right.
Their state allows them to start when they want.
Yeah.
Okay, number 24, resolve that NISBA, that's the New York State School Board Association, advocates for the minimization of field testing and school district decision-making rights to refuse to participate in field testing without penalty from the New York State Educational Department. What are they kind of saying here?
Advocates for the minimization of the school district. What they're saying there is, we do not want SED. We want NISBA to say a little bit of field testing as small as possible, and the school has the decision in making it, has the right to refuse to participate in it. This one we should vote yes on. Why I say we should vote yes on it is because a bunch of years ago, before COVID, not this board, but the Board of Iroquois said, we will not participate in field tests for 3 through 8. We took a stance on that, and we do not give field tests. 3 through 8. We don't. We refuse.
Field test. Tell me what
Field test is, there's a Regents exam in algebra, so we're going to give a test to all the kids earlier just to test our questions to make sure they're good questions. Doesn't count for anything, but we're going to use the kids as guinea pigs to see how our questions are. And that's why I say we should vote yes on it, because we already took a stance on this, and we do not give field tests. So we want the school board association to keep advocating for what we're doing.
Okay.
And again, it's obviously what the.
Yep. But this is also local control, and we want local control.
That's how I read it.
Local control.
Right.
Okay, the next one is 25, and it's another little bit of a mouthful. Resolve that NISBA supports and upholds the mission of the Conference of Big Five School Districts, promoting a more equitable and adequate funding system and delivery of a high-quality education to all children. Central to the mission is the belief that all children can succeed and should be afforded appropriate support and educational opportunities throughout their lives. NISBA shall promote and advocate for fiscal and employment policies that are aligned with this mission.
That to me sounds like more money for the big five.
That's how I'm reading it.
I see.
And whenever I hear that, yeah, we don't, the big five are obviously like Buffalo, New York, and whenever they get more money, we tend to get less.
It's not that I don't want to see these schools promoting high-quality education for their students, but not to the detriment of every other student in New York State, which is what has been happening. So I will say we vote no.
Now we are rounding the corner a little bit. We're going to these resolutions that are not recommended by NISBA. Okay? It doesn't mean that's bad, it means that NISBA didn't recommend it. So, number 26, resolve that NISBA supports legislation to eliminate Regents exam testing at the high school level in favor of state final exam that comply with every student succeeds the Act's regulations in 10th through 11th grade for ELA, math, and science. There's a lot of information that I
What's the
don't
difference
know.
between a Regents exam and a state final exam? Aren't they, Regents exam is a final, is a state exam too, is it not?
Very good question, and I'm going to bring the Blue Ribbon Commission here.
Okay.
So the state is already with the Blue Ribbon Commission saying, we're still going to produce Regents exams, but we think that you're not going to have to pass them in order to graduate. You'll have to take the ESSA, the federally required exams, because the federal government says you have to take them. So if I'm in, if I've already taken one, there's a social studies, there's no social studies, you never have to take a Regents exam in social studies, and you never have to take one because it's not part of the federal government. What this is saying is they oppose that, supports let's say do it. I'm telling you right now, the state's already going in this direction. The state is already with the Blue Ribbon Commission, want to do something with Regents exams and what they count for and don't count for, and with graduation. So we can advocate, and what this is saying is supports legislation for Regents to eliminate Regents testing. They're opposing it, so they mean they want to keep Regents testing. So why does every kid have to take so many Regents exams? Why does a student graduating have to take trigonometry and pass that Regents exam?
Because I did.
That's a great reason. And I tend to look at it and say there's career technical, there's a lot of different job fields. I don't think you just have to pass tests. I think you should have a basic knowledge. I like Regents tests, I like they're available to compare to other people, but you know, I don't like the word eliminating here, but also I think we should have some local control that if we want to have a pathway for a kid to graduate and go be something in career tech, without taking as many Regents exams, that should be fine too.
See, I agree with Doug, but I don't want to see them eliminated.
Yeah.
Well, and it's funny that you're talking to kids about this, and they don't want to see it.
No, but I think it should be more of a local control and option of the path you want to do, and that's why I have a tough time with this one of what to
So we
do.
should probably
But
close it.
It's going to change anyways because of who we're in commission, so I don't think a vote here is going to matter either way. I think they're already headed in that direction.
I mean, at least they know what they're thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They want what they want, they know what our opinion is.
Yep.
I would close it.
I don't know.
No.
So it's a no.
Okay, number 27, resolve that New York State School Board Association shall advocate for caps on BOE budget increases. So they're going to, the rationale says they should be equal to us. In that, we got a cap, but I'm not sure if I have enough
But
information.
that means that BOCES can't provide as many services, it limits them.
It limits them in what they can do to spend money on stuff, and I don't think that's fair.
Sometimes
We're not,
that's.
and we're not limited on a budget increase, we're limited on our tax collection increase.
Yeah.
It's different.
And here's the other thing, BOCES can be limited, because when we vote for the BOCES budget in April, we can vote no.
Yeah.
We can already limit it. We can get all the school districts in every 2 years to get budget
now that I
and vote no.
Yeah.
We can do it.
Why,
Yeah, that's right, no.
why would you put a cap on our education system?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Okay, so we were good on that one.
Well, like John said, it's not, we're not capped on our budget. We're
Right.
capped on how much we can collect in taxes.
Right.
Well,
Without the taxpayers voting for a
60%.
majority,
Yep.
right?
But the tax point's still the same. It's not
we're
hard
hard
to
part of New York State education.
Because it would be like telling, our administration, you can only increase 1%, period. And then you're done, because what do you get rid of?
Yeah. I don't think it's fair.
Okay, going to 28.
So what did we decide?
No.
Going to 28, resolve the New York State School Association shall advocate for the new foundation aid program to be voted on by the New York State Legislature and not through the regulatory action of New York State Education Department. I would be in favor of this because it's pressuring the legislatures. I don't know, because SED is a lot of times cover for legislatures, in my opinion. Because this way, if it turns out hypothetically that, okay, John is losing $4.2 million next year, then we can be like, to our taxpayers, if the legislatures vote that, there can be pressure on it. SED kind of operates on its own, right? So,
Yeah, they're supposed to be separate, and I do find this interesting, because what it's saying is, shall advocate for new foundation farmland to be voted on by legislation. This is saying we don't want the legislators to do it.
the new foundation to be
We shall
voted on by.
advocate for new foundation to be voted on. This is saying we do want legislators to do it. So if you vote no, you're saying you do not want legislators to do it. You want it done by SED.
We want to tell them, I would think by the legislature.
SED tends to try to give us more money than the legislators. The problem is the whole system would fail because SED would say, we want school aid to go up, $1 billion, and the state legislators say, well, we're not raising taxes for it. So the way it's all constructed would fall apart.
This is one that the committee opposed, and they're saying it's because they think that the authority referenced in the resolution doesn't belong to SED in the first place.
It doesn't. The state constitution would have to change to make this happen.
Wouldn't we also then oppose this? Or do we?
Well, you could say you want the constitution to change so SED determines how much money we get rather than the legislators. Farming says if SED could get the money to fund us, we would be much better off because they always want to give us more money than the legislators. However, SED can't raise any money, they don't have the authority to tax. I would oppose this because you can't do it constitutionally.
Okay.
I would like SED to do it, but you can't do it constitutionally, and that's why I would oppose it.
Okay, that's good. We circle back to where we were.
Yeah.
Number 29, resolve that NISBA advocate for the repeal of the 2019 law that removed the religious moral exemption to immunization. So this is saying that they want to go back to the way it was, that if you want to not your children, vaccinated because of religious reason, you could do it. That's what this one's saying.
Okay. I think I'll step out on a limb. I think if you have a strong religious belief, you you should be able to be exempt from immunization, in my belief.
Yeah, I mean, we have,
It worked until COVID, and then all of a sudden, because people didn't want to get their COVID shot.
it passes.
I think it's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
Well, it's already the law, we're asking to go back to what it was.
Yeah.
I would say, yes, according to
Yes.
that.
So, what was it before?
What it would be before is you could, you know,
What was the evidence there?
the evidence was really kind of open. You kind of know, I'm a Lutheran, and I kind of know what the Lutheran beliefs are, just like you know all the religious beliefs, and all of a sudden you see someone, well, I'm switching religions because I don't want my kids to get immunized. It's a belief, but not a religious belief. But you kind of know there are certain religions that don't believe in shots and medicine and going to doctors. And you know, it was a little more open, but I really, you know, I don't think a lot of people abuse it. Did some people abuse it and take advantage and say, it's really, yeah, sure. Across the state, sure. But you're going to have that for anything. I get the right doctor, the doctor's going to write me a note not to get the shots, with the right language.
I want to go on record because I said something about it being a COVID thing, but actually it started before COVID.
Started before COVID.
There were people, I can remember actually having community members come here and ask for us to advocate for them to be able to have exemptions. It was like, I think that specific case was because they didn't want to have to give the Gardasil shot. HPV. And so, you know, like, I would say because, I mean, we had parents come and advocate for this, I would say that we should.
I think-
Immunizations
We want to
are
see it repealed.
your basic ones, so that's what's required.
Well, what is it?
Like your MMR, measles,
Yeah.
rubella, it's not
Polio.
the Gardasil.
And where I get stuck with this too is we always say we want local control, we want local control. Ultimate local control is going back to the parents. This gives parents more of a say of local control over their kids, so we want local control, and that's what we believe in. We should give that to the parents too, of control of their children.
Yeah,
So-
I just, you know, I know other areas in New York State that when you get 95% of the population needs to be.
For herd immunity.
But
Yeah.
there's areas in like New York City and places like that where it wasn't occurring, so, measles is bad in some
Yeah.
areas.
I mean, it interesting for that wasn't because of religious exemption, that was just because.
It depends.
Right,
Some religious
Yeah.
groups live more together than other religious
Yeah.
groups, so it's.
Yeah,
depends on that.
That can happen on site schools. I mean,
Well, yeah.
so, I mean, it should be a problem.
That's, to me, it comes down to, do we want to pass along local control? I personally don't want to get sick from certain diseases, but I also know I've been immunized against certain diseases. So if I'm immunized, should I have a worry of getting it from somebody who isn't?
So that happened in 2019.
Yes, I think the law was changed in regards to COVID,
That's what I.
Yeah.
but I don't think it was before that.
Because parochial schools, they were still.
They're-
And then they changed it, right?
Yeah, you're right.
And that's why I said that,
Yeah, you're
because as soon as I
It wasn't-
started saying it, I was like, wait a second,
Yeah, it wasn't,
2019.
I don't think it was a
I don't
COVID.
think
Yeah,
it
you're
was. I think this is more a response to a lot of people pulling back for HPV and a lot of people thinking that the mumps, measles, and rubella was causing children to
Autism.
yeah, it was causing autism. And so a lot of people started to opt out of those shots, and this was their way of responding to that. And then it became a big issue when COVID hit, and they fell out of this. You can't.
I mean, I definitely, I get the herd immunity, but herd immunity, but I really think it should be, for the most part, parents.
Yeah. I think
So this is a yes.
So this is a yes.
The next one is 30, resolve that NISBA should advocate for local control of educational administration to the county executive or school board when appropriate. I would definitely oppose this one. I don't think that, in this case, county executive or Mark Walkart should have any control over schools. I know they say that New York City does it with the mayor, but I don't really care what New York City does. I think it would be crazy to turn it over to our,
Yeah, that's enough.
okay, and even the committee agrees with that. Okay, 31, resolve that New York State oppose any legislation or New York State Education Department regulation mandating comprehensive K-12 gender and sexual education. Yeah, I don't think they should mandate that.
I don't think it should be something mandated.
Okay.
No.
It's a no. Yeah, we're agreeing to be opposed.
Yeah, so basically, we're, yeah,
In line with
We're in line with what they're saying.
yes.
No.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a little confusing.
Yeah, that's why it's pause where you guys speak like,
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
You know what we want to say, what I was saying. 32, resolve that NYSBA oppose any legislation or New York State Education Department regulation that would allow biological males to participate in field athletics. Yeah, I would not want biological males participating in female athletics.
Correct.
So we would be in favor of this one, correct?
everybody, yeah.
That would be a yes.
Yes, we also oppose. Is that what we mean?
And we support this one. This one's saying that we are opposing any legislations that would.
We want to vote yes, because we want school boards to oppose this.
Yes.
Yeah, we would know.
We vote yes with them saying no.
Okay.
They're really aspirations sometimes.
33, resolve that NYSBA shall oppose.
Trust me, I was confused too.
Yeah, sorry, that's why. 33, that NYSBA shall oppose any legislation of New York State Education Department regulation that would mandate any recommendations to the Blue Ribbon Committee, including mandating the cultural response and sustaining educational framework. Wow, that's a,
Okay.
oh my God.
We would want to vote no to this, because when we talk about the Blue Ribbon Commission, we want support for it so we can have different pathways for students to get diplomas other than just taking a bunch of Regents exams. So we want to vote no. Right, but you want them to, you got the word oppose. What does that mean? Shall oppose legislation that would mandate any commission, including.
So this, if we support this, we're shutting down the Blue Ribbon Committee.
Correct. We don't want to shut down the Blue Ribbon Commission, in my opinion. We would like there to be additional pathways for kids to graduate, other than taking strictly Regents exams.
Does that make sense to everyone? If we support this, we're saying we want the work of the Blue Ribbon Committee gone, yes. And Doug is saying the work is allowing different pathways to graduation, so we would be saying we only want one pathway to graduation.
So we would vote no, right?
We want to vote no. And if you read right there, school boards must be allowed the autonomy and local control over curriculum. And that's why we're opposing it. That's the rationale. We agree with that rationale. And so that's why they're saying opposed, because that's why we say opposed.
Okay, 34. Resolve that the New York State School Board Association urges the New York State Education Department to rescind the unnecessarily early dismissal mandate.
Oh, I'm supposed to say about 13. Okay, 30.
Going back, you're talking about 33, Doug?
33.
You're reading that one? 34.
I'm on to 34.
You did look?
Yeah.
The mandate is most.
This, there's not much disruption, we do it once a year. Is it, I don't know if it really does much as far as an emergency thing. You yell at kids out 15 minutes early, everything goes the same as it does in normal days, just 15 minutes early.
That doesn't help at all. I would just say, I would
You're
say
right.
yes, they would.
Big difference, I guess.
We agree with you. So,
say yes, we would urge SED to rescind it.
Okay.
It doesn't do anything, it just rescind it.
It's not effective.
It's not effective, it's useless.
So yes.
Yes.
Now, Heather, you can see how at like 11:30 at night, all this starts to become really silly. Okay.
We're saying we don't agree with New York, we're not urging New York State to rescind it.
No, I'm saying I would urge them to rescind
You
it.
would?
I would, because it doesn't do anything to help the kids, it doesn't do anything
So
to
we're
make
against
anyone
what the
safe.
committee is saying when they say no.
We're going
saying
against the
yes.
committee, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the committee acknowledges the importance of emergency planning. This does not help with emergency planning, I think they're wrong in their opinion.
Now we gotta let parents know, parents have to be home, the kids, they come home 15 minutes earlier and stuff.
Okay.
There's a lot of work for that, it's not,
Okay, so,
For-
not very effective.
Okay.
okay, 35, resolve that NISBA supports legislation that would grant judges the ability to require bail in cases of violent threats against school districts and their staff and their students and school districts.
So in other words, it would be less restrictive to.
No, they want the judge,
Criminal?
well, no, they're saying that someone makes a threat,
Like criminal?
they want the judge to be able to,
We don't want them to be able to get bail. You say no bail, you stay in jail.
Yeah, that's what I was
no,
gonna say.
this is legislation would grant judges the ability to require bail. Right now, there is no bail. That's what this is saying.
I was gonna say, yeah, I think it's
yeah,
something you want
stay
to
in jail.
make, yeah, you want,
No bail, stay in jail.
well,
And they
on
also
the maximum
want
punishment, I think you need.
Well, right now, they can't take them into custody. This would allow the judge to, if Heather threatened to beat up Doug, and I mean, this is, threats can be concerned, but then Todd with the judge, he'd say, I think you're dangerous, and you have to have $10,000 to get out. Right now, she's just out until her next court. Right now, she's free until her trial.
Yeah, it's not in line with that new bail, that's why they just
Yes,
want to.
correct.
I was gonna say the bail reform
Bail,
stuff
yeah.
they're doing.
Yes.
It's a bail reform.
So are we supporting this then?
I would say, yeah, if say you want, if you support it, then they're saying that they are going to require bail. That's a great.
Yeah, they can set, right now they can't. Right now, it's just like, Todd, you're bad, we'll see you in 2 months.
That's all I want.
So it's yes?
No. We agree, we don't want them to do bail.
No, we,
No.
Support legislation that would grant judges the ability to require.
require it.
Yes, yes, okay, yes.
Yeah.
So-
And
And
if
if you
you're
look at
going
the-
against what they're saying.
If you look at what the
Correct.
committee's explanation for why they take the
Yes.
stance that they do, they're saying because it's a highly chargeable issue outside of NISBA's advocacy role. I agree with that, it probably is, but somebody's got to say, you know.
Well,
we
somebody
don't
would say
want
something.
criminals. Yeah, so,
Yes. I think, yeah, just,
Yeah.
okay. 36, resolve that NISBA shall work to develop state law to require school boards to conduct at least 3 member training during each school year on topics determined by the board and other relevant stakeholders.
if their district isn't already doing that on their own, that's their problem.
Yeah.
I don't want local control, and I don't want who takes it on me, I have to.
Like, we're doing some training this year because we feel it's necessary to rely on the board members. If you had a board that was there, why would you make them do training just for the sake of doing it?
Then they just jump through the hoops, I don't like, I like local control.
Yeah.
So, no.
So,
Wait a minute.
This is saying that every school board would be required to do 3 trainings every calendar year.
correct, so we want to say no to that.
Right.
Right, we're doing some training this year because we feel we should.
But if we're doing great, why do we need to do training?
No offense, but this is another one of those things where NISBA's just sort of trying to make themselves relevant, because not everybody has the pulse of like we have in PCASB. And so, you know, there are boards out there that don't do any real training. And so this is, you know, making it so that those boards will come to NISBA to get training, but, you know.
We are the last one, everyone. Resolve that NISBA advocates for 30 to 40 minutes per day of recess time being officially recognized as an alternative form of instruction time in elementary schools and counted towards mandated minutes. Schools then can allocate time for recess each day to ensure the social and emotional well-being and the whole child development of their students. So basically, it's saying, at least in elementary, that recess is mandatory, right, Doug?
No.
That's what it's saying.
It's saying
No.
each resource towards education.
So you have to have so many minutes a day of instruction. So lunch does not count towards instruction. Recess does not count towards instruction. This is saying you can count it towards instruction. I would think we'd be in favor of it because we have a policy that requires 20 minutes of recess in the elementary levels. That should count as instruction because I personally think valuable learning takes place and sharing and everything in recess.
That makes sense.
So we should say yes.
Okay.
So I'm
So,
still puzzling away at 33 though a little bit.
I just think we have to.
Back to
I don't know.
33.
we can go back to 33.
And why I say that is because when I read their rationale, it says in here, the committee recognizes the state education of the Blue Ribbon put significant time into review of current learning standards, and the school districts across the state have already begun the work of weaving the main principles of SED's culturally responsive, sustaining framework into their policies and procedures. So, if you vote no,
You're saying
then you're going to continue telling people they have to do culturally responsive, sustaining framework into the education of kids. It's them telling us how we have to teach the kids to be culturally responsive. So if we vote yes, they would oppose it and give us more local control.
I think the yeses and nos, like going through this whole exercise of confusion.
Yeah.
It should be either,
Opposed?
what is our position?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to
Opposing
say.
or in control,
Yeah.
or, you know, yeses and nos.
we said no on this one, right?
We said
No,
no.
so are we opposing it or are we supporting it?
Right.
That's a
Oh,
better
are we opposed to this or
We're
supporting?
proposing the bold print, right? Isn't that what it means?
That's
We're
the
opposing-
base.
We're opposing them opposing. I think
What is
yes.
our position?
So,
I think yes, we should
So,
oppose them,
if it's
including
not-
mandated and culture responsive
do we
stuff.
support it? Instead of yes
Yes.
or no, do we support it or do we oppose it?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Mixed.
Well, their resolution is in opposition to doing this.
Right.
I think we should support the opposition to
No,
doing it.
what do we do? Are we opposing or supporting?
No.
Yes, we agreed to oppose it.
Okay.
Yes, we agree to oppose it. Yeah, so we're opposing it.
I just think it's better.
Yes.
So is it yes or no?
We should be voting, they should be voting yes.
You should be voting yes to this. Because the key
Yes.
word, we're voting yes because we're opposing, which is in the resolution,
Any mandate.
the mandate.
So here's a simple question, since I've never sat and see if you did. When you sat there for $1,000 last year, was it yes or no or support and oppose when they asked you?
It's really, it was, at least last year was on the computer, and it was, do you, to your point, do you support this resolution as written, or do you oppose the resolution as written?
So then, maybe next time we do this, that's how we write it. And instead of yeses and nos, to be crystal clear.
Yeah.
And something's more yes and no, but yeah.
Yeah, so we support this one.
Right, but that's what I mean, like, because I feel, it's your, right, yes, no, hell, was that right? What is this? Yes, right, so to be 100%, so we're answering.
We're not going to go through them quick.
No, I rephrase that. They used agree or disagree.
Okay.
That's what they used.
Yeah, so I can go.
So that's what we should be, so that's what I'm going to sure that the she is set up for success.
Yeah,
So, but they can change it and
Right.
rewrite it. So
Yes.
there's a couple ones that I want to make sure that might come up that they oppose and thinking.
Yeah, well,
Through our discussion.
they'll read it just like we did, and then they will say, they'll open up like a room, and you got a computer. Who wants to speak on this? And then we go, you can speak on it, and then you can also say, then if that's all done, they'll say, does anyone want to offer any amendments to this? And then they'll go to the room again, and then you have to vote on the amendments, because it's now are you voting on the amended resolution? And if that fails, it goes back to the original resolution. If it passes, it becomes the amended resolution.
So how do we know if this changes between now and?
Well, that won't change.
it won't change from where we
It
are
might
now.
change because they put something out of order, they said.
Okay. Well, one of the votes is different, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what-
But the resolution itself won't change, but then at the end, the floor is open, does anyone want to make any additional resolutions?
like, the resolutions, I vote that the superintendent gets cookies every morning by the district clerk, and then they can speak on that, and yes, no, and then Heather can say, well, I want to amend it that he gets milk and cookies. Then they would say, okay, who votes that he gets milk and cookies to amend the resolution, and then more people vote for the milk and cookies, that becomes a new resolution, and then you vote again on the whole resolution with milk and cookies.
Heather, are you so excited that you volunteered?
No, that's fine. But like, I just want to use that one as an example.
Which number?
Like number 6, yeah, we're gonna vote no, they could amend it,
Yes.
and then, you know, kind of, and you guys were open to possibly raising the cap and the reason.
Yes. Then you have to use your best discretion.
Maybe we definitely.
And by the way, just so you know, after they get through these 30 and North 37,
37,
they're going to add new ones that you're not going to have any input on.
If, my understanding is that some of the changes that they made, so it can't run forever and ever and ever, is that if they,
They can cut it off.
they'll cut it off. They'll say, no, we're not going to,
Take any members from the floor, let's say.
yeah.
And then back to the immunization one.
What number is that?
That was number 29, it says religious and moral exemptions. One more than maybe, take that.
Somebody may make a resolution,
To
or,
remove more off.
Remove moral. I don't know how you guys feel about that, I don't know.
I would still give local control as much as you can.
As much as, okay. Like Jane under me is like, the more control we have to make our own decisions.
Yep.
I guess that's a good point, so if you hear the theme of the board, what I've seen over all the years I've been here, is we advocate for local control. So anytime you're going to err on giving us local control, err on the side of giving parents control.
no more mandates, especially on funded ones.
Yeah, well, that one. It's something to like.
And
areas that are-
if you want, we get Chuck, he'll schedule 9 hours to go over on mandates. Okay, so do we have any guests?
We do not.
Is there a need for executive session? Okay, there is not. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor? Okay. 5 in favor? That's the
Yeah.
unanimous vote here. Thank you, everyone.